Hello everyone, welcome. We are doing a little bit of what the flop. So let's take a look at what we have here. We have Embedded Agent, which is a pretty good Bene Gesserit card. It has the infiltrate icon, which means you can send your agent to a space that has another agent on it. The Boundless Ambition card, which is a promo that is basically just another ring, but also lets you acquire cost 5 cards or less from the Imperium row or from the Gracchus Liaison when you unload it. We have Gurney Halleck, good old Gurney, always good to have around. Good Gurney. And we have the voice. And finally, Web of Power, the Infiltrate Bene Gesserit card that is getting a lot of buzz and might be one of the stronger new cards from this set. So let's take a look at what we have. So we've got a lot of Bene Gesserit I'm seeing here, and one good combat option in Gurney. So revealing for 6 would be great early on, getting those extra troops and that extra card. He is still very powerful with the expansion. Do not underestimate Gurney. But we have to consider this Bene Gesserit flop, right? We have 3 Bene Gesserit cards right from the get-go, 2 that power very well together. If you can get 6 Persuasion right from the get-go, I'd say you're going to want to get the Voice and Web of Power. Who would work best with this kind of a flop? Well, I think right off the bat, the first kind of characters that come to my mind are those who want to climb the faction tracks. So Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, you may already know he's one of my favorite characters in the game. You also might consider Tessia Vernius. Tessia is a ladder climbing kind of character. You're going to be climbing up these tracks very well. You can proc her ability to get an influence twice once you get 3rd and 4th bonus from your snoopers. You might also be able to climb with Yuna, so that might work very well with Web of Power. Just know that Web of Power itself is a very powerful card. So what it does is, if you have 2 influence with the Emperor, when you play it, you get 2 Solari. If you have 2 influence with the Spacing Guild, you get a card. And if you have 2 influence with the Fremen, you get a water. So it does everything. This is a Swiss Army knife kind of card, and it just happens to reveal for a influence. So the only thing that can really block you, there's really nothing that can block you because it's an infiltrate card. You can go to the Bene Gesserit spaces no matter what. So just powering over to secrets to get 1 influence, 2 Solari, a card, or water, or all 3 if you're very late in the game, is very strong. You might just want to also reveal it. So I'd say probably want to go for something like Harkonnen, Tessia Vernius. You could also do well with Ikaz here, although Ikaz cannot use his ring for Web of Power. You could use the ring on Voice and then try to pick up Web of Power with the regular reveal. So that might be a good option there. Who else might benefit? Ilban and also Ariana Thorvald for their card drawing abilities could be very solid here, just to get the extra persuasion to early buy Voice plus Web of Power. It's a little bit dangerous if somebody picks Armand Ikaz against your other high persuasion characters, because Ikaz could always just ring the Voice into his discard pile, and then you're stuck either buying Web of Power or Embedded Agent. And Embedded Agent is significantly worse if you don't have another Bene Gesserit card. So, but I mean, buying Web of Power would be fine as well. I think this row might be good enough for round 1, action 1 reveal if you have 6 persuasion. At least it would have been in the base game. Let's see what else we have over here. We have Minimic Film in the tech. We have Shuttle Fleet, which is 2 influence on 2 different tracks, or an influence on 2 different tracks. And at the round start, you get 2 Solari. Sonic Snoopers, which gives you an intrigue card when you buy it for 2 spice, and then you may trash it to put any number of your intrigue cards on the bottom of your intrigue deck and then draw that many. So really what it does is it helps you cycle through cards you might not want to get to the ones that you might. So some really good cards over here too. Minimic Film, one of the stronger early tech cards on Ix. If I were to see this row and Minimic Film, there are a couple of options for me. Besides the Baron, who obviously could buy high, and even Paul Atreides, who can draw to buy high. The big purchasers, we'll just put them over here so you can see them. Helena belongs in this conversation. conversation as well. Ikaz, perhaps. He's just all around good. Tessia doesn't have a great way to buy early, but she does climb the faction tracks very well. The other one would be Ilban for able to buy early, and or Ariana maybe, although I don't really like her at the expansion. However, we have to put Beast in this conversation, and the reason is because he starts the game with 1 spice, which means that if you are action 1, if you're the first position, you can action 1 in round 1, go straight to tech negotiation. This little spot here, which lets you buy a tech for -1 persuasion or -1 spice, and you can just pick up Mimic Film like nothing. That also gives you 1 extra persuasion, and that could help you purchase those cards you need. So I'd actually put him in the conversation as well. These are very good early picks, and that's what I'd say for this flop, really. And I honestly think because of Gurney Halleck is kind of a backup plan if you don't get Web of Power and the voice, you know, a Beast with a Gurney is pretty scary, pretty dang scary. Having an extra boundless, an extra ring ability also is not terrible. I'd say that if you were counterpicking someone who took a Beast early, getting a Helena with 2 rings early on, man, that's pretty strong. So that's a really great pick as well. So maybe a Helena, a Beast, and I'd probably put the rest of these in kind of like the maybes after that. All right, let's see what we get here. Oh my. Okay, so right off the bat, one thing we should note here is that there are a bunch of low-cost cards out here that makes Armand Ikaz extremely dangerous. Not only is there an In the Shadows, which I think is one of the stronger cards in the set, we have some Spice Smugglers, which are just good and can help you race up tracks if you want, but the Voice is a solid pickup with a 2 persuasion, and it gets to block people from the board. An early Voice can be very, very, very annoying for everyone else. Let's take a look at the tech cards, tech tiles we have over here. We have Spy Satellites. Spy Satellites enabling the Spice Must Flow, Arrakis Liaison strategy. You could pick up Armand Ikaz early, maybe even hitting an In the Shadows or a Voice, probably the Voice here, honestly, and then just aiming to hit Spy Satellites as early as possible with a kind of early Haga Basin, perhaps. This looks like a very good Ikaz build around. We have also Spaceport, which lets you draw 2 cards when you pay for it, and you can put cards you acquire on top of your deck. And Flagship, which is kind of a late game tile. You're not going to see this one too often early game. I haven't myself, but 8 spice for 1 whole point, and then you can use it, pay 4 Solari for 3 troops. Not shabby, but definitely not something you're going to be wanting to build around. But you could definitely build around Spaceport, though this particular hand of this flop doesn't really work with that kind of strategy, I don't think. Fremenkamp is good. It's still strong in Ix, but it does run into this situation here. If you pick up Fremenkamp, what exactly are you aiming to do? I guess you're combating, you're going for some early battles, and you could, I guess, use that. None of these tech besides Spy Satellites really work with a particular strategy. Spaceport is fine, but it's not going to help you really early on, I don't think, that much. Feel free to disagree with me in the comments below. The 3 standout cards, obviously, In the Shadows, Fremenkamp, and Voice. I think Spice Smugglers is just fine, and if you're going for a combat-based strategy, you could do much worse than Spice Smugglers. Also gets you that coveted point in the Spacing Guild and some nice Solari if you are able to get this early. So honestly, this is a very good flop. I think it's very even. All of these cards are about evenly powered, and we'll see if that could possibly mean some good strategies up here. So for the Fremenkamp, we have a lot of these desert icons, which means we're going to be using them to probably ship a lot, which gives us an option to choose Hundro possibly after we've we've eliminated Kaz is probably the best pick for this hand or for this flop. Besides that, a kind of neutral character who doesn't mind going to combat spaces, the city spaces, such as Beast, possibly even, are there any green spaces? There's only one green up here, so Vernius is not going to get a whole lot of help here. He needs to have a bunch of green spaces so he can go get his dreadnoughts when he needs to. Although the extra Solari could be very good for his strategy. Getting extra Solari can help him get the dreadnoughts early. He already has the ring and 2 daggers in the deck, so that might be enough. So Rumber might be someone to consider here. Also considering there's a lot of combat going on here, we might want him. He's kind of a combat-centric, tech-centric character, although the tech in this flop is not great, Spy Satellites being the outlier. This is not a great Helena hand, I don't think, unfortunately. I mean, she could definitely disrupt this row and find some stuff, and she's always good. The blue spaces for voice, Spy Smugglers, and the green and blue space for In the Shadows are always good for her. So that is something to consider, but none of these are standout Helena cards, and I usually want to buy high with Helena in the game. We could see a decent Countess Ariana out of this flop, seeing as how there's so many of these desert spaces, and that lets her either go to a desert space and draw a card, or to do shipping, depending on your turn order, probably like a turn 1 or 2 Ariana or position 1 or 2 Ariana Thorvald seems reasonable, especially position 2, I think, so you can get the most out of your harvesting and your shipping. What else do we have? Memnon. Does Memnon benefit here? Yeah, actually he does. With the extra spice you'll get from Spice Horde, Spice Smugglers is looking appealing, Fremenkamp is looking appealing, Spice Smugglers again is looking appealing. So we could put him in the conversation as well if you just want a mindless, I don't have to think about the kind of game I'm playing character. Also, I like him, don't get me wrong, but he's not very complicated. I don't think this is a great Ilban start. There's only one green symbol in among the bunch, and that's not great for Ilban. I'd say probably not. The only possible respite for Ilban is that we have some Solari generating cards here, which could help him out. That could work if you really wanted to work around it. I don't like first picking Spice Smugglers though, if I can help it. And I think, of course, we have to choose the Beast here, or at least put him in the conversation with the rest of these characters because of his ability to just go big with combat. And if he snags a Fremenkamp early, well, he can just be pretty nuts. And he wouldn't mind having it in the Shadows as well, since he's probably not buying very high. He's not going to go for high persuasion. He's going to be going for combat, and this helps him round out his faction weaknesses. Who else could we put in the discussion? Probably Tessia for the ability to go up on factions here, and if we can get the In the Shadows very early, if we're like action 1, in position 1 with Tessia, I think you play 1 action and then you reveal for In the Shadows and something else, potentially really supercharging your snooper ability. So that could be very strong. We don't see any other unload cards right now, which makes this pickup just okay. I think it's fine, but it does work really well with Tessia. I don't see any benefit for Paul here. Paul really wants to draw a ton of cards, and none of these are really great for Paul. None of them are great for Leto either. Maybe In the Shadows, but no green symbols. And the other cards that cost extra spice, kind of conflict with his ring ability of Prudent Diplomacy, where he wants to be spending spice to trigger his effect. Finally, I'd say the only other character I'd want in this conversation, perhaps, is Elesa Ikaz. Now, this is an underappreciated character. Her ability, One Step Ahead, is extremely powerful, but it's also brain-meltingly difficult to plan for. So basically, you take a card at the start of a round. You have to warn everyone, I'm taking my round start triggers, set a card aside, And then at your second action, when you're going to send your second agent out, you reveal that card, you show everyone the card, and then if you send that agent somewhere with that card, you either get a spice or a Solari. If the card has one icon, it then gives you a spice, and if it has more than one, it gives you a Solari. So potentially by round 8, let's say you used one agent icon every round to send your agent somewhere, you would have 7 Solari, 8 Solari by round 8. 8 Solari by round 8. That's pretty powerful without doing anything. So the potential for this character is very, very good. Her ring ability is very, very bad, though. Getting a fold space card for $1 is hard to ask for in this version of the game, where going up and getting Solari and then immediately getting High Council or Swordmaster is really what you want to be doing. You don't want to be frivolously throwing your Solari away early game for a Spice Must Flow when you can just go there for free. So I don't like this ring ability at all, but like I said, I think potentially this one step ahead ability could be one of the more powerful abilities in the game if you get good at doing it. So that's something to consider. She's very hard to play right, I think, but very fun to play. All right, and this is our third and final flop for this What the Flop. Let's see what we get. Oh my, okay, so let's start off with our cards here. Siege Reverend Mother. Oh, very strong here. We see a couple of other Fremen cards here. We see Shai Hulud. The big 7-coster lets you trash a card when you buy it, and when you play it for an agent action, it lets you trash a card in order to put 2 troops on the board. So that is going to be very good for combat. This looks like this is a huge combat Imperium row, which means that, you know what, we're going to probably want Beast up here. Beast is very strong overall with combat, and you don't want to be left out. But that doesn't mean that you have to be Beast in order to be competitive in combat. You can do other things as well. I just like putting him out there because lots of combat. Also note that he likes to have some extra faction space icons because he generally doesn't have them all that much. So Siege Reverend Mother's pretty good, Spice Hunter pretty good in general, and lots of card culling as well. In this row, I would not consider Ikaz. I think Ikaz is very bad for this row, namely because you can't get any value out of your ring. Maybe you pick up Spice Hunter. I think you're just going to grab Arrakis Liaisons then in that case. But what else do we see? We see a lot of spice generation with Fremen Bond, so we're probably going to be in the realm of Hundro Moritani, Duke Leto. Let's get these guys out of here. Possibly even Ariana, because she does lack the ability to get a lot of spice, and this might help cut through that problem. Other issues, other characters we might see with these cards that we might want. Since we're looking at a bunch of Fremen, a bunch of desert spaces, and then a Sardaukar infantry, I think these are the main 4 I would go with. If I was feeling a little bit more frisky with this, I might consider, I don't know, Helena, just because she could probably get Shai Hulud faster than everyone else, or the Siege Reverend Mother, which is a great enabler for a high persuasion build. If you can end up buying for 5 with Helena and have her ring right, you can get the Siege Reverend Mother and the Spice Hunter round 1, and that's pretty strong. There's also the Smuggler's Thopter. Smuggler's Thopter is excellent if you can get to space 2, of course, on the Spacing Guild. So going to Fold Space is going to be better for you. So going early to Fold Space, hoping to get Smuggler's Thopter, just seems to be the thing to do. We also have to, because we're already choosing Beast, but also over here is Mimic Film again. Mimic Film, one of the best early cards or early tech tiles you can get. We see a Restricted Ordnance, which means that anybody with high council seat can potentially compete in combat, which makes you a very, very fierce competitor in combat. And then Sonic Snoopers, which is just okay, but I think we're going to be looking at these top 2 here for a plan. So other things we could potentially do, we could put Memnon in this conversation if we wanted to go with the High Council. He's going to be getting a High Council no matter what. That's what he wants to do. And, we could always go early Mimic Film and then get Restricted Ordnance later if we're able, but we probably won't be able to get both of them. His Spice Horde might let him get the Restricted Ordnance early if he has Ring to hog a base, and that gets him 3, and then second action to Tech Negotiation, that lets you buy Restricted Ordnance. That doesn't get you the money that you need, but it does get you the Restricted Ordnance. And then you'll have to find some Solari elsewhere in order to get that high council seat. So could be a little bit tricky to do, but worth maybe trying. I do like this character, even though he is very simplistic. Should we put Baron Vladimir Harkonnen in the mix here? I think we should, and the reason being is that there are a bunch of Fremen icons out here. And the Fremen icons, of course, will help the Baron trigger his Master Stroke ability by going to Hardy Warriors and dumping 2+2 troops into the conflict. So the Master Stroke ability here at the start of the game, secretly choose 2 factions. Nowadays in Ix, everyone is going to be choosing not these two, the only other 2 I have in here, the Fremen and the Spacing Guild. These are the 2 that are often chosen for the Baron. There are probably other reasons you might want to choose these 2, but at the moment, the metagame is shifting toward a Fremen and Spacing Guild meta. And what that means is that if you're Baron and you go fold space action 1 and then do something else, like get, I don't know, just shipping if you can, or, you know, just harvest something or get some cards or whatever, action 2, then action your first action of the second round, you go Hardy Warriors and reveal, you get 2 points. You get access to interstellar shipping, which lets you ship round 2, second action. And that is incredibly scary. So if you're in, I say, maybe first position as the Baron or even second position, you are dangerous. Getting to fold space early, then just kind of waiting until next round, Hardy Warriorsing, and then immediately going to interstellar shipping, having 2 points, and having a jump on the shipping track. So I'd say that Vladimir is just a good pick in any case, but also because he'd be able to grab the Smuggler's Thopter early, because you can almost guarantee from that position that you'll be at level 2 with the Spacing Guild. I'd say you could also throw Tessia into this mix because she has a very decent chance of getting level 2 with the Spacing Guild. The way that she does this depends on her hand, is if she has a access card to one of the factions in round 1, she can then use her ring, if she has access to the factions in round 1, but her ring is in her second hand with Diplomacy or the other access card, she can then access wherever she wants round 2, and then use the ring and go up 1 with the folds with the Spacing Guild, and go down with the one she had gone with before, triggering her ability, letting her discard, getting a spice. That's not that important, but it's always nice. And then, but mostly turning on interstellar shipping. So Tessia could be good, and I like her when it comes to climbing the tracks. She's very, very good at it. Besides that, who else should we put in the conversation? Possibly put Romber Vernius. Possibly. And the reason I say possibly is Romber Vernius is going to benefit from the extra spice from these cards. And so if we can get Fremen Bond, which is now very easy, if someone picks up Siege Rever Mother but cannot buy Spice Hunter, you go Spice Hunter, Arrakis Liaison, and you're already looking pretty strong because you're going to be revealing for an extra spice. Romber Vernius wants to buy tech as much as possible, and so he might be able to sneak in a Mnemic Film with his ring to tech negotiation, depending on how quick you are to jumping on those types of cards. So I think he's possibly useful here. His ring also lets you go somewhere else, and then you could like dagger up to tech negotiation action 2 and get Mnemic Film or snoopers if you really wanted to. But I think Mnemic Film is what you want. Using that Ixian technology ring ability is very, very strong. You can kind of play the game like you don't have the lasgun cannon sometimes because people block you at Dreadnought, or the game doesn't work out that way and you have no Solari for the whole game. So I wouldn't worry about playing him that way, but with the tech, I think he's very strong, or at least moderately strong. And that's what I'd say for that. I hope you all enjoyed that. If you like this video, let me know below, and I'll keep making them. And I'm hoping to make some more strategy videos in the future. Thanks all for watching. I'll see you next time.